Hey everybody, thanks for joining me in this overview, review, and ranking of Voyages. So Voyages is a Kickstarter roll and write. It is a print and play that you have to print and provide three D6s to play. And for me, a way of maintaining the integrity of the game was to contact copy, like just cover all of my maps. So I printed really nice color copies, two for each of the four maps provided so far for the Kickstarter backers. And that means that Lewis and I can play, and I can play by myself solo with a dry erase marker, and I could just keep playing that same version. And so for me, it's just easier that way. And I also just like having a really nice copy of it and knowing that my paper isn't going to be destroyed. This game is really cool. I have to say right now, it was incredibly hard to rank them. And I will say that it is a very fun roll and write. I like it. I like it a lot. I played it with my friend, and she immediately went and did a late back on Kickstarter and got it immediately, printed her copies, and then she played with her husband that day. It was so fun. She had such a great time with it. So I will say that this is a really cool shareable game, but it's a fantastic solo game as well. And so I want to show exactly how the game works, like just the base function and features of the game. And then what I'll do is I'll go through and rank the maps so far and kind of tell you what the cool feature is that makes me put that game just a little bit above some of the other features in the other maps. So what I've got here right now is just Trade Winds Blow, which is the map 1, and you're going to see that you've got this kind of duty section, a cargo section, a sailor section. This is going to be how you score at the end of the game, and then there's just this really cool hex map here in the center. And so what a player is going to do is play over a certain number of rounds until one player reaches their third star. This third legendary star triggers the end of the game, and then everybody's going to get one more round, which, perfect feature. I love that you get one more round. After the end of the game is triggered, everybody gets one more chance to kind of respond or react. The players are going to pick up their 3 dice, and they're going to roll them. Now I got a 1, a 2, and a 4, and what you will do is select one of those dice to move in a direction. That means you're going in north, south, east, west, or in this case, there's no full east-west. There's kind of like a southeast and a northeast and a southeast and a southwest, or southwest and northwest. But you have 6 directions to go. Here's where you begin on the start island. So if I wanted to do my 1 as my direction, that means I'm heading this direction. If I want to use my 2, I'm going in this direction. And of course, if I want to do my 4, I'm going due south. So you'll select one of these dice, and everyone's doing this at the same time. I select one die to go in a direction, and then I select one of the remaining dice to go the distance. So do I want to move 2 spaces, 1 space, or 4 space, and in which direction do I want to actually go? You will stop if you hit the edge of the map. You will stop if you hit the side of an island, and that means you found the island. Yay! That's great. Finding islands is amazing. That's it. So you're just going to pick that. Now, the remaining die. So let's say I'm going to use this, and I'm going to say I want to go 2 spaces. Oh boy, I want to go 2 spaces in the 2 direction because that gets me a sailor. Boo. Boo on me. I can't do that because I have a 2 and a 1. There are ways to make your dice different numbers, but we're not going to use it just yet. So maybe let's just go, 1, 4, oh, let's do that. I'm going to go north in the 1 direction for 4 spaces. I go 1, 2, 3, 4. I like to circle where I am so I know, and I also get to see, hey, you just picked up that thing, whatever that thing was. Now that thing is one of these goods, right? This is hide. So what I do is I just circle hide and I say, I've got a hide and now I want to take it to an island where I can sell it. Now the islands to sell are these cool islands right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I can sell more than just one thing when I go to an island. So sometimes you want to kind of grab a bunch of stuff. So I got one hide. I went one direction. I went 4 speed. That means I had a 2 left over. Now the 2 die is your duties die. Your duties die is down here in this section. And that just means you circle or you put an X through one of the 2s that you see. And you just do. That's it. You just take a duties. You just say that one. And what you're doing is you're trying to get columns and rows so that you get bonuses. So I think what I might do is mark through that number 2 right there. If I finish this row, I get a fruit. And fruits are good because they're goods. If I finish this column, I'll get a sailor. And sailors allow you to change your dice. They allow you to add or subtract a pip for any die. I can go in the direction, I can go the speed, and I can also modify my duties die. When you do, you just put an X through them and you use them. Everyone starts off with 6. Now, if you reach this chalice at any point and you end on that space, you have to end on the spaces in the map. You can't just speed right by them. You can't just go through them. You have to actually stop and collect it. Then you circle a sailor that you already have. Not an exhausted one that you've used, but a sailor that's still ready to go. And when you circle them, they become heroic. And heroic sailors give you, I get to change this die to anything I want. And that's really cool. That's amazing. And if you don't use any heroic sailors by the end of the game, they're worth 2 victory points each. Brilliant. Fantastic move to get those heroic sailors. That's it. That's the whole turn. I rolled the dice, I picked the direction, I picked the speed, and I put 1 in duties. That's the game. And that's the game for every single map. It's so clean. It's so easy. I'm setting myself up right now. I can maybe find a way to go down to this island. If I do, I'm going to gain 4 victory points. Any island that has a number on it, you get that amount of victory points. All of these goods, there's the fruit, the spice, the hide, the gem, and the barrel just as any fruit. When you sell them, you're going to be earning the victory points that is in the column right above it. If you get 3 goods of the same kind, you get a legendary star. Legendary stars work you towards triggering the end of the game, but they each give you 3 victory points. If you go to all these different oceans, do you see how there's like a dotted line here? And each of these has a different kind of coloring to it, little dots. That is oceans explored. And so thematically, you're really just driving your ship around, landing on islands, getting victory points, gathering cargo and dropping them off at ports. You're selling them. You're gathering sailors that help you do things like modify your dice. And you're exploring. So it's the 1, 4, 9, 16. So it's 1 times 1, 2 times 2, 3 times 3, 4 times 4 business. And so there are 7 of these oceans that you can explore throughout the game. And the more you do them, the higher your score is. You get points for defeating this Dread Pirate. I call him Dread Pirate Roberts. I don't know. Is that just from Princess Bride? I think it is. And if you come here and defeat him, that means that you get 14 victory points. And you have to exhaust 2 heroic sailors, essentially spending them to fight the pirate, and that's how you defeat the pirate. This is the base map. Now, I think this is just really fun, super accessible. I like the base map. I like this game. This was my first exposure to Voyages. Now, I will say, though, that I did not pick the first map as my favorite map. And I will explain why. So let me start off, and I'm going to get into my ranking section. And what it's going to do is I'm going to take you through all the different maps and the features that they offer that build upon this, keep some of the same features, but add a new element that really helps me enjoy the game. Now, I will say before I get to my ranking that you should play the games, you should play the maps 1, 2, 3, 4. I really do think that you should play them in order. Map 1, Trade Winds Blow, is the most basic. It's simple, it's easy to understand, it's easy to play, there aren't too many restrictions, there's not a lot of penalty, and it's just exploring and finding goods and selling goods. And if you want to go up against the big baddie, you can go up against the big baddie. But it's really light. It takes the least amount of time, and I think it's the least confusing when it comes to more complex rules. So definitely start with map 1. With that said, I am now going to secretly organize the maps in the order that I will rank them in. All right, I've got my maps ranked, and I'm ready to start with my number 4. And I can't emphasize enough that I like this map, and it came in 4th out of the 4 simply because the other maps brought something just a little bit more complex and dynamic. So my 4th place Voyages map is the first map. Yes, it is the Trade Winds Blow. Now, there is another reason. It's not just because it's simple or straightforward. I like that. I like it a lot, and I love teaching people with this map. Now, the thing that I really like about it is the duty section. I think that this is super easy to understand, and I love that when you make progress in columns and rows, it gives you the other direction. And so this is cool, and you seem to always have a duties die to put in here somewhere. So great progress with duties. You don't feel like it's punishing, and I love getting the rewards. The reason why it comes in 4th is because, for me, the cargo is just a little bit not immediate. And so for me, I feel like when there are 2 or 3 steps to get to something, then it makes me feel like it's just a little bit too hard. Now, the cargo you collect as you end on these spots, like the barrel, or you end on the spice, the triangle, or you end on the fruit or the hide, the diamonds. You get it, but then you have to then go to a port. You have to go to a cargo place and sell it. And that, to me, seemed like way too many steps. And when you get to the space, you're not allowed to just sell everything. You can sell all of one kind or all different kinds just once. So if you have one of each, you can sell all 4, and you get the victory point that's on that furthest left side. So it's 3 for each of those first ones. Then it's 4 points, and then it's 5 points. But you can only sell the ones that are the leftmost ones. Or you can sell like 3 hides and get 3, 4, 5, and you can sell all 3 of them at once and get your 12 points. So to me, you had to really make sure that you were getting a variety or one kind, and then it was like a 2-step process. And for me, that just was maybe a little bit too much. So I enjoyed other maps a little bit better than I enjoyed the first, Trade Winds Blow. Yes. All right, now I'm moving on to my 3rd favorite map, and it is the Marauder's Reef. Yes, this is the 2nd map, and I think what it did was really kind of expand and add upon the base game, but it added these marauders, and I thought the marauders were really cool because you didn't have to spend your sailors to defeat them. You just have to match them and either be within eye line of them or on their space. And that flexibility with defeating them and never crossing through your sailors was really, really cool. So here's the start. Let's say I began and I did my first move. I went here and I went 1, 2 spaces, and I ended right there. That means that I'm 1 space away from a 2. Now I can, at the end of my turn, if I am in eyesight of a sailor or a marauder, I can then say, do I have 2 plus the amount of tiles away that I am to defeat them? Well, I do. I have 3, and look at this. Every game you start with 6 sailors. Now I don't exhaust them. I just say, I fought that marauder, and I circle that first one right there, which means I'm going to receive 1 point at the end of the game, and hopefully I can fight more of them to gain a legendary star, or I can gain this particular bonus, which is 2 times the amount of my Marauder gold. Ugh, so good. Okay, that's how you do that. And it's just so easy. You just have to see them at the end of your movement turn. I love it. The duties, you now have these columns. You have your 1s, your 2s, your 3s, your 4s, and this gives you upgrades to your ship. It allows you to do cool things. So once you have an entire column, you get a bonus for the first 1, 2, 3, and for 4, 5, 6. But when you receive those, you essentially are taking your 1 die as your duty die turn after turn after turn. Then you actually get this bonus, and you kind of put your little mark through it. Now you can add 1 or subtract 1 to movement without having to use a sailor. That's huge. That's amazing. And I really like it. I really like it a lot. Here we also have a thing called reefs. And reefs is added to this to kind of prevent players from moving as easily and as freely. And you'll see that the reefs are in this like slash line. So you'll see some right here, and there's one all the way around this one particular location, right? That's going to be your fort. So it's kind of protected. Up here, we've got some going on over there as well. And so there are these restrictions, and they act like boundaries. You're not allowed to cross through them. You're not allowed to see past them, so you can't look over and find a marauder. You have to actually be within eye line of them without having any blocking forts. So you've got these different marauders. The big ones are harder to get, but they also give you better benefits, and there are only a couple of them around. There's 3 of them before you get to your 8 victory points and your legendary star. There is one island, if you get to it, it's 12 points and a star. And so you can see how they've developed this next map to really make it just a little bit more dynamic, and you get cool stuff when it's not your turn. And I like that, which means you fight the marauders, don't lose sailors, and you don't actually have to be on their space to fight them. You just have to be able to see them and count points away from them towards your defense. So being really far away from a 6 is going to be kind of hard to do unless you have a ton of sailors. All right, we are at my second favorite map, which really only leaves my number 1 is pretty obvious. But my second favorite map of the Voyages is map 3. Now, map 3 is called Cold Dark Depths, and this has some crazy cool features. And I feel like it's kind of that, you know, you're just keeping ahead of the damage, but the damage can really overwhelm your ship. And this was a tough choice. I think this is probably where Lewis and I disagree. I think you would rank this map a little bit lower simply because of the possibilities of the negatives. So you have damage to your ship, and you've got a duty section where you must maintain a particular amount of give. And that give is 4 spaces. And so when you do your duties and you fill in these spaces, you're simply putting a little box around the sections to give yourself a little bit more wiggle room, because you're going to start taking damage in these particular parts of your ship whenever players roll the dice. So I'm in the start zone. You'll see a little dotted line. The start zone is a safe zone. Islands are safe zones. So let's say I essentially drove my ship and I went and found this really cool tentacle octopus creature, because you're going out and you're sighting things. So I'm going to end my turn there. You can drive through them and see them as well. You don't have to end there. But let's just say I did that. And I get to fill in any part of my journal when you collect 4 of the, the sharks, the octopus, and the whale, or 1 of each, you're going to collect victory points, and you're also going to get a legendary star. Now, let's say the next time I roll, I didn't roll it, but let's say I rolled doubles. That's what this whole map is about. If you roll doubles and you're not in the start zone, you're going to take damage, and you're going to take damage based on the region that you're in. So I'm in the tentacle region. You come down here to your mast with the tentacle symbol, and that means that you are now going to take damage, and you fill in a space. Now, I don't have buffer there. I only have 3 spaces. So my penalty, says, I cannot pick up sailors or relics from the ocean. And that's bad because if I end a space on one of these anchors, I can't pick up more sailors, and sailors give me that flexibility of changing my dice when I want to change my dice. So this is going to start hurting you. You can't, you lose health when visiting any part of an island. You can't use sailors. You can't, your movement goes down if your bow is hurt. So there's just some really fun stuff. It says here, double damage, you roll a double. If you roll triple, you get 1 hit in every single space. Wow, right? So now you're starting to see the duty section really comes to the forefront, and you're trying to make sure that you've got some prevention and you've got some buffer here. Now, the cool thing about this too is once you actually fill in these spaces, let's say I get all the way up here to this spot. So let's say I fill in all the spaces and I get to the end, I'm going to get an immediate bonus or a legendary star. I can take 2 new sailors. I can add a picture to my journals book for free, just coloring in one of my symbols. I can make all of my unexhausted sailors heroic by circling them. That's a really good move. Or I can put a number on each other row, and that means that you are filling in and giving a buffer. And now you're saying, I essentially want to put a 3 here, and I want to put a 4 here, and I want to put a 3 here. Now, what do the numbers mean? You're not allowed to make any numbers the same in every single column. So once I put a 3 down, I'm not allowed to put a 3 in the mast. I'm not allowed to put another 4 in the keel. I'm not allowed to put another 3 in the top. And technically all of these should have had a number in it like this as I went. That's my buffer. And that's just the coolest. I love that this is kind of like a keep your head above water. The ice flows give you damage on your ship because you're crushing through all the ice flows, but you can go through them. They're not like the reefs. They're not, blocked. You still have the same gold total for the islands. You still have the explored ocean regions. I think this map is really dynamic. I like it a lot. I think it's a little scary. It's a little deadly. It's the cold, dark depths. And I think that challenge is really, really exciting to me. Okay, we are now to my number 1 favorite map. It is number 4, Lighting Beacon Bay. Now, this has a really similar feature to the second map, which is the Marauders. Now, you can light these beacons as long as you can see 1 lit beacon in your eye line and you're between a beacon that's unlit. So this one starts lit, and you'll see that it's kind of in this you can see those 3. So if you start here on this island and you go into any of these spaces, you can light one of those beacons. Now, let's say I roll. Let's see what I roll. I just always want to play this game. I rolled a 2, 2, 5. Now I can go 2 in this direction, 5 spaces, or I can go in the 5 direction, and that kind of takes me in the middle of nowhere. So my 5, 2 spaces is here. I can't light the beacon, but let's say I use my 2 and go 1, 2, 3, 4, and I use one of my sailors, because you can always use a sailor to go up or down one. And let's say I stop right here. Now I look and I say, can I light that? I sure can. And you fill it in and you mark off your beacon. And this is a 1, 3, 6, 10, 15, 21 thing. So you want to go around the map putting your boat in position between a lit beacon in eye line of an unlit beacon. It's really cool and it's free if you can do it, if you can navigate there. Now, you don't get stuff that you drive through. You don't get the cool sailor that I missed. But you can also light a beacon if you end on it too. I forgot to mention that. So if you ever just want to drive around and just end on it like an island, you can, and you light it. And then you can kind of get another aspect of this going. The other part of this map that's really cool is the watchtower. I love the way this watchtower feature works. When you land on an island with a watchtower, these are 3 right there, The fourth one you actually get as a bonus for finishing this building in your duty section. But your watchtower, you get to pick one bonus on the very first column. So I can pick one of those bonuses. And then whichever one I pick, I can't pick anything underneath it. So if I take this sailor, then I draw a line and I draw a new box here for my sailor on one of those 3 columns or 3 rows, but then I can't take that bonus ever, ever, ever. The second watchtower I go to, I can take any one of those, and then I can't take anything underneath it. So let's say I take the 5 victory points. I'm saying I don't think I'm going to get to the 9 and the 16 because I can't take those. Then the next time I go, let's say I take that legendary star. Then the last thing, if I can get to that 4th watchtower, I get that bonus. And so the watchtower is a really interesting feature. They get better as you go down, but you really have to choose, what do I want right now? What's going to help me? And when you unlock skills for sailors, they become cool. And this is why this rises to the top of my favorite maps. This is really where it's at for me. You can use sailors now in a different way than you did in all the previous maps. You can use them if they are unlocked. You have to get to this unlock space first, but you can spend a sailor and you can say, I'd like to go 3 more spaces than the die I selected to move that far. I want to go 6 more spaces if they are heroic. And then here, you get to move again after your move. So let's say I went my 5 spaces. Now I can take a jog and I can go in one direction or the next. So let's say I wanted to go down 2 spaces because that's what my movement was, 4 and 2. And then I can use my heroic. Let's say I've got this guy here with the heroic. I can now move 2 spaces in a different direction. And now I end up on that island and I go, yay, I took a jog in the middle of my whole run. No other map lets you turn. This map lets you turn if you get the skills on that particular sailor track. Over here, your duties just all have to be the same. So if you put a 1 in this house, all the other duty numbers have to be 1s. You can't put 2 or 3 or 5 or whatever. And you can have another building with 1 in it, but they're only 6. And so the idea is kind of to do, I've got like my 5 building, I've got my 3 building, my 2 building, and so you just kind of put your duties in there depending on what number you're picking as your duty die. This game has so much coolness to it, and I really, really enjoy the Lighting Beacon Bay map the best. It's my favorite for a variety of reasons. Thank you so much for just hanging in there and like walking through these maps with me, because I think Voyages is a really cool, clever, print and play, roll and write game that works well with other players, and it works well as a solo game. All you need are 3 dice. I've already done my dry erase and my contact paper, but you can just use pencil and paper and have a great time playing Voyages. Start off with that first map and let me know what you think about these maps. Maybe you can rank them too and tell me what you really like, what features in each map really appeal to you, or perhaps not appeal to you as much. Again, thank you, and I appreciate you walking through Voyages with me. It's a really, really cool game. I cannot say enough good things about it.